Thank you for joining us for the Barbados Today afternoon news for Friday, February 9. I am Mary-Claire Williams. Our top story this afternoon, a top education official is raising concern that criminal gangs are infiltrating the school system. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Harry Husbands, raised the issue at a news conference this morning at the Ministry of Education. His statement comes as education officials meet with staff of the Grantley Adams Memorial School following this week's stabbing.
The important thing about these gang elements that are attempting to infiltrate the schools is that there are adults. They are not children. The people who are standing around influencing these behaviors and encouraging some behaviors in the school are adults. That much is clear. So while we have a program, and all these programs we talked about, and there are some others that we will not talk about, that we will discuss with the police and other actions we have to take to in the schools that will not be discussed publicly. While we take that while we go about that, we also have to, as a society, as a country, challenge those people out there who, with their gang-like activity, are attempting to influence and infiltrate the schools in Barbados.
In other news this afternoon, attorney at law and social activist David Comissiong is hinting at a legal challenge to the newly amended Police Act. The new legislation gives police extensive powers to impose curfews and curb the constitutional rights of Barbadians. A statement issued by Comissiong does not specifically state that he will sue the government over the measure, but he says it is highly unlikely that this new piece of legislation will pass the test of constitutionality once it is challenged in the Supreme Court of Barbados. Comissiong has successfully challenged the Democratic Labour Party government in the past over the plans in 2016 to introduce fingerprinting at all ports of entry, including for Barbadians entering and leaving the country. Police Commissioner Tyrone Griffith is calling on law enforcement agencies to continue to collaborate to ensure border security. It was one of the matters examined in his address to the police conference yesterday.
Of particular concern are those identified weaknesses that continue to facilitate the importation of firearms, ammunition, illegal drugs, and other contraband through regulated and unregulated points of entry to our country. It must be noted, however, that our discussions on these issues must not be restricted to an appreciation of police-led interventions, but must be supported by the commitment and contribution of our law enforcement partners. I see our response to the evolving trend of firearms, ammunition, and drug trafficking as an opportunity for all state actors who operate within the environment of border security to strategically collaborate and execute in ways that are intended to promote and sustain the dominant interests, that being the national security.
Griffith also highlighted challenges of recruiting new officers. He said the issue is not due to a lack of interest in the police force, but some of the applicants do not meet the criteria. However, he said they will continue to ensure that existing officers are well trained.
For the force to remain relevant, effective, and efficient in its rapidly changing internal and external environments, it must be supported with tools and other supporting resources that include access to contemporary training. From one of our recent reviews, we are satisfied that some deficits exist that must be addressed through the application of specific training interventions.
There are major plans for a merger in the financial services sector. Globe Finance and Signia Financial have confirmed that they are currently exploring a possible marriage subject to regulatory approval, but their shareholders will have the final say. A statement from Signia says no sale and purchase agreement has been signed and there has been no approval from the regulatory authorities. Market analysts say it is a significant development given the wide reach of both companies.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back with news from the region. And warnings of a possible terror threat in Trinidad ahead of this weekend's carnival celebrations. Police in Port of Spain confirmed yesterday that they have detained several people who were planning to disrupt the activities. Police Information Officer Michael Jackman says the suspects are now being questioned.
Trinidad and Tobago Police Service has unearthed credible information of a threat to disrupt carnival activities. Given the nature of the information received, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service found it necessary to detain several persons of interest.
The Ministry of Health in the Bahamas is dismissing reports of increased cases of tuberculosis, and the Health Minister, Dr. Dwayne Sands, is seeking to ensure citizens that the disease is not affecting the school population. He says screenings at one primary school showed that 38 students tested negative, while there were 2 positive cases among 46 teachers tested. Sands says screenings will continue in schools.
The Ministry of Health has conducted extensive screening exercises on Eleuthera, at R.M. Bailey High School, and more recently at the Gaming Board in Nassau, which resulted in 17 positive findings out of 81 people tested. Those results, according to the international standards, did not allow for or cause concern or public panic. I wish to assure the public that the Ministry of Health will continue to conduct the prescribed TB screenings throughout the country as required. As Minister of Health, I am compelled to dispel public panic and fear by informing that the Bahamas has a stellar public health record, that every necessary protocol will be taken to identify and address any new cases that we find.
On the international scene, the Winter Olympics are underway in South Korea. At today's opening ceremony, the hosts put on a show of unity with neighbors North Korea. Athletes from both countries entered under the same flag during the parade after months of tension in the Korean peninsula. Meanwhile, athletes representing Russia are doing so as independents, as that country is banned from the Games due to a doping scandal. We get more in this Reuters report.
An independent tribunal has ruled dozens of Russian athletes caught in the Olympic doping scandal cannot compete at this year's Winter Games. The Court of Arbitration for Sport is the highest judicial body in the world for athletes and made the decision to dismiss 47 appeals from Russian athletes and coaches on the same day as the Games' opening ceremony. The Russians competing are technically independent athletes, even with a uniform, and are considered neutrals. CAS's decision has been welcomed by the IOC after bad blood last week when the court overturned a ban on 28 Russians who had no prior doping record and said there wasn't enough evidence against them. Russia's Deputy Prime Minister called Friday's decision understandable but disappointing.
And that's news this afternoon. Remember, there's more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and on Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also find us on Mix 96.9 FM. I am Marie Claire Williams. Have a good afternoon.